Good afternoon. Twitter's decision to ban, or as Twitter puts it, indefinitely suspend Donald Trump from his Twitter account has been heavily covered in the Chinese media, which has reported this story in mocking terms and has used it in order to vindicate the stance China takes in its own actions to limit freedom of expression on its own intranet. It only suffices to look at the titles of 3 articles which have appeared simultaneously in Global Times, the English language website, which is published by China's official newspaper, The People's Daily, and which sets out the Chinese government's opinions for the world to see. One article is headlined, "With the silencing of Trump, how does freedom of speech feel?" Another article, in fact, an editorial, the title reads as follows: "Twitter's ban on Trump strips US of moral high ground in criticising others on freedom of speech." And still another writes, "Twitter's suspension of Trump's account shows freedom of speech has boundaries in every society." The Chinese government, through Global Times, have actually gone much further than this. They've actually used this incident to say that freedom of speech are aspects or rights which are qualified and in every country. The United States apparently being no different from every other. And of course, that is unsurprising. That is exactly what you would expect the Chinese government or the and media sites aligned with it to be saying. For example, going to one of the articles on Global Times, which I mentioned, you find comments like this: "This incident has fully exposed the US's double standards when it spares no effort to criticise other nations' violations of freedom of speech, whilst taking the drastic move to restrict the speech of its own president." And then it quotes one of its commentators, a person called Shen Yi, who is an academic at the School of International Relations and Public Affairs in Fudan University in China. It quotes him as saying, "Maybe it is only until today the US has learnt the lesson that freedom of speech is not without limits. No government can have an unregulated internet." Shen Yi then goes on to say in the same article, "We regulated the internet to provide a healthy online environment for the public, but US platforms started an internet purge because those platforms are tilting towards certain political parties and some speeches are not in accordance with the political interests they uphold." Li then goes on to say, "The US should not treat itself as special and perfect, differentiating itself from every country in the world. It has fallen to a laughingstock for the world to see." And Global Times goes on to say in the same article, in what has to be seen as rather gloating words, "The suspension of Trump and his followers' account also stirred waves of mocking on the Chinese internet. The hashtag Twitter announced permanent suspension of Trump's account has generated over 400 million views as of press time. We really have witnessed history, witnessed the true colours of the US political system and its double standards, said one Sina Weibo user. Sina Weibo, I should explain, is a Chinese site or platform which fulfills many of the same functions as Twitter and Facebook fulfill in the United States. Well, as I said, it's not surprising that the Chinese have made the most of this affair, and perhaps people in the United States will say that the United States has to make its own decisions in relation to its own society and cannot be unduly concerned about what critics of the United States, such as China, say. Having said that, this episode does show that actions taken internally in the United States as part of political conflicts there do have consequences. The Chinese have been handed a strong propaganda weapon that they can now use against the United States when the United States brings up issues of free speech with respect to China. The Chinese have every intention of using it. They are already, to my knowledge, using it in response to Western criticisms of their suppression of free speech in Hong Kong, and they will no doubt continue to use it in future. Actions have consequences, and Twitter's ban on Trump and on many of his supporters has had this one. Thank you for joining me on this program. Please continue to follow me. Join me on my next program on this channel. Please also look us up on our main channel, The Duran. Please also look up the channel of my friend and colleague, Alex Christoforou. You will find links for all these channels under this video. You should please also support us by finding us on our various other platforms, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey, Library, and the rest. And please also support us through PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar. I look forward to seeing you on my next broadcast. Thank you very much, and also quickly check us out in our shop. Get the wonderful things that you will find there, magic mugs, t-shirts, and all the rest. Thank you very much.